hello.
Hi,
That's me.
hi. That's you.
That's me.
And Kitty Cat.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's very loud, but she's always very loud.
a little bit different this week. We're focused less about the GDO side of things. Everything's a little bit more plateaued there. We're just getting our Reapers down on
Shit.
hardcore, taking some time, just going through that, doing raids and hardcore. Hardcore mostly focused, but everything's pretty low key on there, as it's just in repetition
You
mode.
just kind of play.
Yep.
Do the
So
same shit every week. Or not every week, every day.
right, but what we've been filling a lot of our time with, since that's uh doesn't require as much, is Apex Legends. In fact,
Apex
yeah,
Legends.
which has been out for
Actual good game.
it's been out for a year, a little over, no, 2 years now, right? Yeah, 2 years now.
It's been out. Has it only been 2 years?
Only 2 years, yeah, because last year I was doing season 2 of hardcore at this time, and the year before that I was just coming back to the game,
Sheesh.
and just before that was Apex. So yeah, it's just a little over 2 years, which is very surprising. It launched in a sort of like just out of the blue. There were a couple creators that got sent out to the EA offices and Respawn offices to play it, and then all of a sudden it came out. No PR, no hype, no nothing, and just
And it
took
blew up.
took BR's the next level. It's not as arcadey and it's FPS comparatively to Fortnite. It's not as like mil simmy hyper realistic compared to PUBG. Nice in between, has character, taking place in the Titanfall universe, and so filled its shoes very very well. And
Yeah, definitely. It was right around like the big Fortnite era too, so it had like really big shoes to fill,
mhm,
and like a lot of people played it. It was pretty sweet because like back that was whenever Fortnite was dominating everything. It was fucking massive. Like everyone played it. Like
yeah, you
it
did
was
in fact.
wasn't just like it was unfortunately, but it wasn't just like a game, right? It was like you'd see shit about on the news about Fortnite. Like
Right.
that was like very new for a gaming side of things. That like
Yeah, Fortnite definitely took like the global craze about something. Like the next like most similar thing to that was like World of Warcraft back in the first three
yeah, like
expansions, right up till Wrath. And after that, sort of got a little but
after the game sucked, but hey.
despite that, Fortnite took the world by storm, and then Apex sort of just came in and dominated everything. Immediate tournaments, immediate high profile people playing it, Shroud and
Remember,
Ninja
yeah,
and
like watching
everybody.
Shroud and Ska play it right off the bat, and just like, of course, they're fucking gamers and they're just killing everybody. But I was
Yeah,
just like, wow, I want to play that game.
yeah. Did you download and start playing it in season 1 right when it came out?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I played.
same.
I was a season one. Well, I played before season one, right? Whenever like before it was actually a season.
Yeah. In the first little bit
Season
of it.
0.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I played season 0.
I was playing. I just finished my PUBG and was doing some IRL stuff, and then Apex dropped, and my buddy Primo, who was a Overwatch teammate, was like, "Yo, got to start playing this game." And then it was like 3 days into the game coming out that I got it and played it, and it was an absolute blast.
Because season 1 was whenever Octane came out. Am I correct there? I
Yeah,
believe that's whenever
one
season
or
like
two.
season 1 drop was whenever Octane actually came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's when, and then Mirage and Caustic came out just before that in season.
In season 0, yeah.
Yeah, and so lots of lots of hype around it, lots of fun stuff, which is just coming out of nowhere. There's that like balance between hyping something up and having something like really looking forward to it, versus just randomly dropping it. And these both things happen. Like Hyperscape is on the random drop side. Valheim is another one that has seen more recent success with it, versus a hype game like Ashes of Creation or New World that has a lot of like momentum and build up behind it
Mhm.
and before its release. But Apex
Yep,
dropped.
there's the
Both played it. We
cultural
both enjoyed it.
balance.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think so.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when you first like jumped into Apex, you're coming off of watching Shroud doing it, and all these like really big aimers and fraggers. What was your sort of experience just playing it? Original King's Canyon.
So I mean, I definitely was a little better than most of the competition because that's at the time where I was playing Fortnite like at a very high level, pretty much professionally playing it at the time.
Yep.
Playing scrims, doing all that kind of stuff. So my aim was obviously very like I don't want to say on point because I don't sound like a dickhead, but like more practice than
Yeah, you're more refined
most
and
people's would be
yeah.
because I was playing, another FPS like 5, 6, 7 hours a day.
Fortnite FPS. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
as
were
I said,
aiming and shooting. You were playing a shooter. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's all I'll say about Fortnite. It was a shooter. I played it professionally. Regret it, but
But it allowed you to go into Apex and feel a lot more confident with your aim.
oh yeah, definitely. Like I'd say my aim now is similar to what it was then, but I don't know. I've never. Yeah, that's basically the best way to
Yeah.
describe it.
Okay. Yeah. So moving past your aim, what was the rest of your feel around Apex?
The movement's amazing. Like that's the best thing. Like that was like the first thing I remember fucking thinking about whenever I downloaded this game or whatever. Being like, yo, there's no falling damage. That's fucking rad.
That's
Oh, I
fantastic.
can slide like this. That's fucking rad. And that's before I knew how to do like any of the crazy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Apex takes a lot. Respawn is the developer behind it, who did Titanfall, and Titanfall was praised for its movement systems. And so they took a lot of that core stuff as it is in the Titanfall universe and made it into Apex. You have grapples, and you have like nice momentum slides down hills, and then you can combine certain movement techs, a tech called B hopping, where you are hitting your jump button while you were just coming out of a crouch, and you can keep going up and down and up and down, and it maintains some of your speed and back in the very start. It
Mattered a lot more.
yeah, you're
because
able to
of
keep like
bunny hop
full
healing.
movement speed while doing actions that would slow you by usually 80%.
Yeah, healing.
Yep. And so all that fantastic right at the start, it's been changed. That full movement speed while trying to be really slow is no longer as prolific. But that's a part of the development of the game. I think it's a healthy choice. It slows it down a little bit for an already very fast battle royale. And so as you kept playing throughout the seasons, when like I played season 0, came in, enjoyed the characters, Pathfinder, fantastic for the movement. I really enjoyed that coming off of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where it's very much so you have to sit there and sound horror and just be very, very tense all the time. I just pathy, zip to things, yeet myself into the
Yeah.
other dimension. Fantastic.
Grappling.
Yep. And then I stopped playing shortly after that, sort of after season 1 when Octane dropped. There wasn't a whole lot of content. There was a big content drop sort of at the beginning of the game. I didn't play a ton after that. I moved over to Dungeons and Dragons and played more of that and really got kindled my
Accustomed
passion to it. And so I've just been doing
Yeah,
that for a big
sure.
chunk. Now Apex season 9 dropping. What did you do between season 0 and 9 that recently dropped?
So I played 1 quite a bit. Season 2, I didn't play a ton. I can't really remember what I was doing at the time. I don't know if that's. I think that's whenever I was actually playing Heroes of the Storm professionally, or that was more semi-professionally because it was just at a collegiate level. But
Yeah.
I mean,
You're playing the academic circuit.
academic circuit, playing with GM level players.
Yep.
So like very top of that game. But so I didn't play a lot of season 2. But then season 3 came out, and that's whenever they dropped World's Edge, which is the objectively the best map in Apex. It's always played competitive, always just played around there. And I played a lot of that season. That's when Crypto came out, and I liked that guy at the time, whatever. But played good with that season. And season 4 through until about 8, I didn't play like at all. And then one day, I just messaged you. And I was like, "Yo, I kind of want to play some Apex.
Yeah.
Like I've been feeling it." And I was like, "Would you want to play with me?" And you're like, "Yeah, I guess." And
We
we played the first night, and you're like, I don't know. I'm just not
Yeah.
really feeling. It's not very fun, but I guess we can keep playing it. And the second night, we kind of got back into our game,
started
and
popping off.
we got like a win or whatever. We're like, okay, wait a minute, this is really fun. And then we were playing it pretty consistently, and
Now we have our
we
goals
just
set
like
up.
we messed up or messed around or whatever in season 8, and just kind of casually got to plat. I got to it on like 3 accounts because we were just playing with friends, and
Got banned
needed some,
because came back to the
I needed
game and immediately started doing ranked. And there's a very big cheater issue in in Apex, and so false flagging is pretty common, and so I got hit.
Yeah.
Still had
And
some
then
aim stored inside of these hands, and so I had to
and
wait for
some
2
a,
months for all
a
season
lot
8.
of our friends or whatever that we were playing with like weren't gold or whatever, and you had to be within a rank rating. So we couldn't play. I couldn't play my main account, so I made like 3-4 different fucking Smurfs so I could play with my friends.
Yep.
Because at the time I didn't care too much about grinding, but then now we're back for season 9,
Yeah.
and our goals are to get masters and
Reach a real high rank.
mess around and things are out like that. Like
Yeah, and so and with season 9, what brought along with that, and then we'll go into the competitive aspect. Season 9
a lot of good
dropped
stuff.
this last Tuesday. Yeah,
Yes.
this last Tuesday, on the 4th of May, and big hype launch event. A lot of people were really talking about it. A lot of the patch notes were looking really good. New character and legend seemed really fun, and weapons, a new mode. We'll get into all that, and then the launch, right, happening at 10 Pacific, noon Central. Playing the
Launch is a
Vidya
little
game.
rough.
Ugh, you couldn't
Launch is a little rough.
consistently get into the game until like 2-3 hours later, and even then you couldn't pick your anybody but the core
Legends or whatever.
legends. Yeah, and then until like 7 hours later, and it was just chaos.
But I'll be honest, that happens every Apex Legends season, so I don't know why I was surprised on this one whenever they
Right.
drop, just because it's the highest volume of players it's people like gonna get or whatever, so it's very, very stressful on their servers, shit like that.
Yeah, and the only season that I had played actively was season 1, and that didn't happen in season 1. So,
Yeah,
first
fair
sort
enough.
of Apex launch, a little rough, but eventually got through it. Planning for season 10, if and when that happens, just play the day after, pretty much.
Yeah, don't rely on playing at least right on release.
Yeah. But with season 9, right? Once it got all hammered out, and over the past few days, it's gotten a lot better with the servers. Lots of new content have been dropping. Some of the changes from the previous season, that World's End, which you just touched on, got brought back into the ranked circuit.
Yeah.
So it's the current live ranked
map.
It's
Amazing.
Yeah, and so it's a smaller map, a little bit more condensed, better overall like fighting positions on the map, not as choky as
it's a lot more skill based. Like
King's Canyon, not as like flat and open and just like you're always in a terrible spot as Olympus to the other maps. King or World's Edge sort of has a nice balance in between.
Yeah.
And so that's back. They also brought in a new mode, that being the 3v3 arenas mode, which we played a little bit of and
sweet.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, what is arena about?
So arena is just like a 3v3 eliminations type mode, like think almost like search and destroy esque from Call of Duty, but there's no like actual objective. It's just
it's a TDM.
Yeah, not even TDM. It's just elimination.
Yeah, it's
like you have a life or whatever, and but it's also got the buy system like Valorant or something does, right? So you get to you have to kind of base your economy and stuff around what you're gonna buy and stuff like that. So you have to play in different ways. You can't just full int yourself or whatever. Like for some rounds, you want to just rush for the crafting materials and stuff like that for be able to think about the next rounds or whatever.
Yeah, so you have a set amount of money each round, and you're spend it on your abilities, depending on the legend that you pick, your ultimate, your tactical ability. You spend it on weapons and weapon upgrades, and there's a linear system for that. And you spend it on like utility, health, shields, grenades, things like that. And each round, you get more and more depending on how you did your past round. Whether you have a losing streak, whether you have a killing streak, stuff like that. And so each round, you get progressively more powerful, as well as your shields and helmets automatically upgrading, which is a really nice touch. I'm glad that they didn't.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I'm glad they didn't force shields to be like everyone buys them. You pretty much are auto buying them, so just make the economy less and give people shields innately.
Or
I think that's good.
Or if they leveled from damage, it'd be like the winning team's now just winning more.
Yeah, so it's a nice strikes a nice balance. It gives the people that are maybe on a losing streak a way to catch back up, especially if they save around, stuff like that. Going in, nice little maps, taking some parts of different maps, a few custom ones as well. There's a nice artillery from Kings Canyon. I don't know the Olympus or World's Edge ones very well,
There
but
isn't a World's Edge or Olympus one.
okay,
Neither of those are actually on like
the rotation right now.
we think. So you've got the artillery realm, the one that's like yeah, no, neither of those
Wintry,
are
yeah.
actually
So
neither of those are
there's
actually on Olympus. Those are
yeah,
like
there's some custom maps. There's like a wintry one. There's a nice like open middle ground, and then some good fighting sides, and then there's a like, sort of in a cave sort of deal, like destroyed little villa that has buildings on one side and like flat buildings on the other with a semi-open middle, but there's some nice ducks, and it's really enjoyable. We played some nice 3-man squads and went in and got a nice little win streak going. That's one of the challenges that I had, and so we try-harded a bit. Just running at people with All-Stars at the start and just energy LMGs, and then immediately grabbing bows because bows are the hot shit right now. They are
shit's OP.
so juicy, and a
It's
bow
busted. Oh, it's OP.
So the bow is newly added with season 9, and it hits like
OP.
fully charged. It hits for 70, and so that's a 3-shot break point, and it has a very, very fast fire rate, and so it has one of the highest effective damages in the game.
It hits as hard as the hardest sniper in the game.
Yeah, and it's very, very utility. Like it has it absolutely chunks. It demolishes. There's a new hop up which can be added onto weapons to amp them up, called tempo, and it's pretty much just if you're firing as fast as you can, you get to fire faster, and so all of a sudden you have a very high DPS weapon, and now you're able to make it higher DPS so long as you're hitting your shots, which is sort of the trade-off. But skilled players can absolutely demolish teams, demolish everything with bows.
And it's almost totally silent. It's like not totally silent, but like it's
a little hard to. It's harder than a normal weapon to identify where it's coming from.
If you're in the middle of like a big fight, and you could get third party from a bow and have no idea you're getting third party by a bow.
Yeah. And
so it just creates some weird opportunities.
Suddenly you're just 70 HP less and very, very worried.
Like you may not even know. You may think the other person just lasers you, right? Because you won't hear the other people firing on you. You just kind of get hit by an arrow and you see your HP's gone, but someone's shooting at you, so you obviously worried about them, especially whenever all you hear is
yeah, it's a little and then it's done. Yeah, so something you mentioned was it's and ties very much into that is its third party potential.
Yeah, it's both.
And so if you come in as a third party, as ideally you have 2 teams that are fighting each other, and then you come in as the third team or the fourth team, fourth partying and such. And there's teams that are already lit, there are already people down, the team may have gotten wiped and they're trying to like restabilize, and then you're just taking advantage of that, which has become so much more prominent and prevalent within BRs across the board as the BR genre has continued to evolve. When BRs first came out in PUBG, there wasn't much third party. You could sit there in a 1v, like a team v team fight for a minute plus and not have to worry about anything. And now it's like if you're there for more than 30 seconds, there's going to be another team showing up.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's
That's
just
all about the game now is fighting third parties and hoping you don't get got.
Yeah, which is really it's a nice evolution to see. Although third parties can be very annoying to deal with, it's also something you have to keep in mind, and it's a macro strategy that comes with the game as you develop more. You as a player, you understand more about that.
It's not even always like the third party that's annoying. It's when it's like the 7th party. That's when it starts to get fucking annoying. You're like,
yeah,
all right, we just wiped 4 squads. Oh, there's another fucking team. Guess we're fucking dead.
yes,
sweet.
You just can have to keep going, and so
But it does add elements as to where like you have one person holding while the other people are healing or whatever. You get a lot better at that. Like,
yeah,
like it'd be insane to watch like a group of players now, even just like a mid-tier skilled group of players now, go back to like season 1.
Like, yeah, go back in time.
They would just demolish.
Take a gold ranked average group of players and going back to
a gold player would probably be diamond in season 1.
Yeah, and just seeing how that's come along. I like that evolution. I think that people need to keep applying themselves to consistently reach a higher ranking.
It's kind of like I want to use Fortnite as an example again,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, but like so back whenever I was playing or whatever, there was the rank league. It was still pretty new at the time when I was playing it, but I was the very top, right? I was champion 1, very high up in that. And if I played that game now, I don't ever watch it very often. My roommate still plays it quite a bit. If I played now, I would maybe be able to get champion, but I'd be at the bottom of champion at the fucking best. People now are fucking absurd at that game.
Yeah,
like,
that's sort of how it felt getting
but
back
like,
into Apex.
Even me, if I went back and played Fortnite in season 1, I would never lose a single game. Like,
yeah, and with that, there's the relative like skill up of the people that are at the top of their top now are in that same position where go say right now, go 2 years down the line, if people at the top of the top now stop playing, they would be able to get to a high level, but not to the highest like they were. But they can come back now and still be at the top. And so there's always that like striving for more. There's always something to focus on.
That's just competitive gaming in general,
right? And it's something that we both have a lot of experience in. Like you mentioned, you've been competitive in Fortnite. I've been competitive in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Overwatch and Paladins. FPSs, lots of different styles of things, hero shooters to hyper realistic and BRs across the board. So it's nice to have that background experience to sort of go on to. I really like I take a lot of the experience I had from PUBG in particular and apply it to the macro of BR and Apex a ton. Like my positioning, my scouting, just general game sense, knowing when to engage, when to back up, where to engage, how to support teammates, things like that. It came very naturally getting back into a BR after not playing it for.
The cool thing is though, I think the fact that we both played BRs at high levels, but we played different BRs at high levels shows the difference in our play styles.
Yeah, we are pretty much as opposite as it gets between play styles and like how we aim, especially.
How we aim, especially, is I am on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, we're definitely very like opposite in those styles, but when we work together and try to like make those match as much as possible, it comes out pretty well. We have a lot of things covered, a lot of bases covered. That makes it so if whenever we get a third, they can just be there and be present and sort of be a middle ground, and both of us can utilize and then bounce off of that very well.
Like I'm generally as far as like play style, I'm very aggro, a little too aggro for my own good.
This man runs into every single fight, every single one.
Yeah, I like shooting people in the face. Not gonna lie, but like it works out because I usually I end up winning the fight or whatever, and I come out with much higher tier loot, more meds, shit that we needed.
Yeah.
Bad sides, I get third party a lot. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, if you're playing with Morgie and you're running into fights, then you got to be ready for that next fight to happen, and just have an understanding of like, oh, well, got to hit more shots.
Just be better. But then on the other thing we're talking about, the opposites is our aim.
Yeah.
I am an extremely flick based aim. I fucking suck at tracking. I'm just not much of a track player. Like even whenever I'm tracking on someone, I basically aim at them, flick to them, and they they'd be here. I aim at them, they move this way. Instead of like following them like that, I fucking stop. I flick again. I flick again.
Yes, he has to have an
compared
anchor.
To you, who goes like.
Yeah, he has an anchor point, and the moment that he thinks he's gonna take a shot, he just stops all movement and then just goes, whoop, move on to them, and it goes from there. We'll show a little bit of gameplay later in this episode, and it'll highlight just how crazy that is.
Like I move my camera a fucking lot.
Yeah, he has more than double my total sense, I believe.
Which is still a high level of sense because I still have a fuck ton of mousepad space and I still use my arm.
Yeah, he still flicks around his entire place, but I would need double. I would need 32 inches of mousepad space to match my current aim to what he's doing.
Yeah,
so it's insane. But with my style, it's much more consistent. I'm playing IGL rules. I'm playing more macro focused game knowledge, game rotations, when to engage fights, how to engage fights. These keeping in mind of circles closing in, where to position, how to best positions in the map, things like that, and trying to make like definitive shot calls in that direction. And I'm just trying to be as present as possible and don't have these high spikes of like, oh, I'm engaging, I'm popping off like Morgie, or if he hits like a really insane shot because he just threw his mouse across this room and it hit this left click on this wall.
You're never gonna get the fucking crazy, just like, oh my god, I just fucking flicked my Kraber and one shot this guy.
Exactly. Krabers go to him. It was the same thing in PUBG. I was a DMR player, so consistent tap 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 instead of a bolt action or a sniper player, which you would take a shot and then re-rack another one and just completely go out of LOS and then pop back up, already zoomed in, and just immediately flick to someone's head.
Yeah, I like flicking onto people's heads.
Yeah, and then like Morgan's talking about with specific aiming, tracking, I try to keep my cursor on that person, on center mass, on headshot throughout the entire engagement while he can be wherever oriented and just flick right onto him. And that does.
And neither's necessarily like worse than one or another. They just have different benefits or gains. Like we were running ones last night, and it was, or that's 1v1s for people that don't necessarily know the lingo or whatever. That's when you're just fighting each other one-on-one or whatever, and it went pretty even. Like we were using different guns and stuff like that most of the time, so it wasn't obviously completely fair even, but they went back and forth and they went pretty even.
Yeah, even when we're using the same weapon in general, we both applied our style to that, in particular the bow, which you can sort of try to do both, but when you're aimed down sights, it's much harder to flick around, and so Morgie was just hip firing through everything while I'm like tracking and aiming, trying to find him. And so these the weapons do play a huge role, right? My weapon choices are different than his. He prefers like the wingman, which is a revolver like weapon, and just tap tap tap, and he'll like peek just out of cover enough to shoot, and then immediately unpeek, and then do that again within like half a second, because that's how fast the fire it is. Versus me,
that's also
who I'm
why
like,
I use shotguns. What versus you, who does not?
Yeah, I'm not a shotty player. It's not for me. Well, me, I'm like I expose myself more, but I can deal like a higher consistent point of damage. If I'm left unchecked for an amount of time, I'm gonna wipe 3 people off the entire squad. While Morgie's getting 1.5 done and creating a lot of impact. But his and then that can open up a fight insanely well, and create that advantage.
Which I think also feeds into why I push more often and stuff like that, because I'll open up a fight or whatever, but then unless I'm pushing in, getting in there, finishing it's a lot harder.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where if I try to take off angles, try to do other things. If everyone's focused on Morgie, then I can just come in and just pew 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 pew, and everything's done. On to the next third party.
Which is also feeds into why we play certain legends or whatever. I play Octane.
Yeah.
And run around like a fucking maniac.
Yeah, so Apex Legends, who would have thunk, its classes, its heroes, its whatnot are based in legends, and these are people that are throughout the entire universe that Respawn has created, are highlighting and like pinnacles of what of a certain weapon type, or like Rampart is a LMG expert. She builds things. Wraith was this
trash.
Yeah, was this experimented on gal who created or was able to like be influenced by other alternate realities and create portals in between places. And so there's a bit of this like ability side, but then there's also a lot of this weapon side. And so Octane, he's a
crackhead junkie.
Yeah, he's a crackhead. He literally stabs himself with a syringe, and it amps his moves to be like 50%, and he just runs at things. And his ultimate,
and he takes damage.
And he takes damage, yeah. So he hurts himself to move faster, which is often in most games that is such a good trade-off to do once you know how to mitigate around it. And it was recently nerfed in this last patch where he takes more damage.
Sag. But he can do it more often.
So he can really, really crank if he needs to.
But yeah, as we were kind of saying, we both kind of play different styles of legends, but one legend we both kind of come to an agreement to liking is the one that actually came out in season 9, so we kind of trade off on who's playing that because it's just a really all around cool legend. That's Valkyrie.
Valk, yeah.
What are your thoughts on Valk?
Valk is fantastic. So approximately every season they release a new champion with or a new legend with a season. This season, Valkyrie. She's a daughter of a really renowned pilot driving a mech suit, and there was this nice little Easter egg
Who
that
used to be an Apex Predator.
yeah, he used to be in the games, and they Respawn added it into the game files an entire mech coming in and auto shooting things down, and they have been known to do that to trip up data miners. And so for a while, everyone's like, "Oh God, are we gonna get a mech that's gonna come down and AI shoot things?" And no, we're not. Got Valk. She's fantastic though.
Oh, she's fucking awesome.
Right away, one of her most impactful, if not her most impactful
Burnout.
abilities. No, just her passive.
Oh yeah, her passives.
Right.
Is her yeah.
So her passive, one of the elements of it is that she can use a little jetpack, right? She grabs onto little controllers and is able to fly in always a vertical way, but you can move in most, like you can either go straight up or you can move at like a slightly inclining horizontal direction, and you're able to jump over high ground to buildings and maneuver around fights super well. You can't shoot while you're doing it, so it adds a nice balance that way, but you're super mobile, and it feels so clean. We talked about Apex's movement system with Pathfinder and zipping around on zip lines and slingshotting yourself places and just crouching in general and being able to slide places, and all of its movement tech. And Valk just feels like she fits right into the game, like she's always been there with that passive.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like just the movement you can do on her just feels so good.
That's fantastic. Her tactical ability, every legend has a passive, whether it's active or not is different. Has a tactical and an ultimate. Her tactical ability rains like this barrage of missiles that deal a little bit of damage, but also provide a heavy stun or a heavy slow disorient. And so
it's like it's really impactful if you actually get hit by it, but it's also really easy to get out of to kind of balance it out.
That's where some of the skill cap comes in. Of I've been hit by it like a couple times and played for a ton of hours so far in the season, and it's just not happening very much. People aren't using it a ton, but there's some nice tech. Or if you throw inside of a building, they do or originate from you, and so they just go straight up into the sky or into the ceiling and just hit everything. So there's some tech that people eventually start to use more and more, I feel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then
my favorite ability for her that is absurdly fun to use is what it's called Burnout. So Burnout is an ability where you can start casting or whatever, and then your teammates can actually come like attached to you because you start like floating in the air or whatever, and then you can fly into the air and do this like redeploy thing where you get to like fly back down on the map, and it's so awesome for like disengaging from fights like you shouldn't be a part of and things like that. It's just really or just like inting on someone's head. It's just so fun to do.
Yeah, it feel once again with the feeling of it feels like it's perfect. Like it's been in there. It has counterplay. If you get shot while you're charging up and getting ready to go, you immediately get taken out of it with a bit of the ulti gone, and it takes a while to charge it up, and so or to recharge it so you can actually use it again. So pretty much guarantee you have to take that fight now. You have to do it behind certain buildings, or you only have little bits of time where there have been times where we are charging up to do it and launch, and we're still getting shot at and get hit while we're flying away. There was one instance where I was playing Valk and started charging, and both Morgie and our other teammate were at 1 HP, and we launch, and while we're launching, both of them get knocked, and I have to come back and get their banners later to get the revives on them. And we ended up winning that game.
We did win that game.
Yeah.
Because we fucking burned out it again and landed on some team because we had no loot, and I fucking double stuck him his fuse.
Yeah, that was absolutely hilarious. And so there's just it just feels great. And another Valk passive is that while you're in the air, you can see, you have a nice little HUD up, and everyone on your team can see where enemies are on the ground or in the air, up to like 150 meters or something like that, 250. And so when you're burnouting, you can if you're full redeploying, you know where everybody is at on the ground, and you can go, oh, I want to go there. Oh, we don't want to go there. We do want to int onto these people. All of these great things. It also helps initial drops, especially in a ranked environment where you don't want to drop on anyone at the start of the game. You get the free loot phase that you can go into a fight geared, and you don't have to worry. Like
Definitely.
we've had like 1 or 2 initial fights, and that was because of our mistakes, or we didn't have a Valk.
Yeah.
Right, but it
In
happens.
initial
And
fights, there's RNG and kind of lame. And
yeah, the one thing that they did add with this patch that helps with that is starting loadouts that everybody gets.
yeah.
So everyone gets a white helmet to reduce a little bit of headshot damage, a white shield, which is really nice because Apex's shield extra armor system is based off of damage that are evolution shields. And so the more damage you deal while you have that shield on, the closer you are to getting your next upgrade for free instead of having to go find it. And so that's really, really nice to start out. And you say you do get a weapon, you can immediately get up to like the next tier pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are nice. It makes things a little bit more consistent. The weapons are, sometimes you get a good weapon, sometimes you don't. If you don't, then you're at the mercy. Or you have to really outplay people, which as you go higher and higher doesn't happen as much. Talking about going higher in ranks, though, that's something that we've been really focused on. We played a bunch of in Season 8, sort of just more on alternate accounts when my account was banned, until I got it back. And then we even got up my account up to plat.
We managed
Sort
to
of
get the plat just for the end of the season,
pushing.
just to get it and just playing the game. Really, like we had like one push night or whatever just to get it, and we got from fucking gold nothing to plat in a night. It was easy.
It was really good. It was a lot of fun too. And so with that, our goals this season are set pretty high, and especially you were like in on this, and you've been playing comp on your own and playing with just complete random people, stuff like that. So what are the focuses this season?
So we definitely want to push to like diamonds, like our bare minimum. If something like comes up, whatever, we can't play as much, we still want to get diamonds. Like that should be very easily attainable, stuff like that. But
and low diamond, low diamond, I believe, is 1.8% of the player base. I think that's the number.
Yeah. But we want to push to masters, which is like
0.4 of the player base.
Very small amount of the player base, but it's just like it's a much higher level and stuff like that. Because at that point, you're getting all the top, 750 lobbies, stuff like that, which is what's called Predator in this game. You're getting all the Predator lobbies and stuff like that, and you're really like, at that point, you are like good at the game. Like you can,
you're good at the game. Yeah,
you can be considered good at the game.
You're one of the best players. I think good at the game is above average, which is around gold. And so if you're high gold, low platinum, you're good. And then as you go up and up, getting to Predator is like you are one of the best players you can play competitively, at least in ranked, right? Which is a little bit of a different environment than a actual tournament setting.
Extremely different.
But you've shown that you put in the time and dedication to get there, which is a lot at the highest levels. Like in Predator, you do have to put in a lot of time, and that's why it's a little bit like, will we get there? Do we want a hard push for it? We're sort of figuring that out once we hit master.
Pred's a lot of time.
Yeah,
maybe not like very unlikely this season. Maybe if we hit masters this season and we play a lot of it or whatever, maybe we invest the time to try to be Predator at some point. Like it's a big investment. It's difficult, but if you want something bad enough, you practice enough.
Right, going one step at a time. And so what our loose strategy has been is paying very close attention to meta, to what
playing Revenant Octane.
Yeah, playing the scummy shit. Just to start, get the bearings. Revenant is a legend that is a little bit more anti-fun to play, or to play against. He has an anti-ability, so you just get all your abilities removed if you get hit by it. And then his ultimate makes it so you can't take damage. Yeah, don't you skip your shields, so you immediately take your base health, and you have like half of your base health, but then you immediately get teleported back to the totem when you die, and so you just get extra HP.
Yeah, that's his ultimate. So you put down a totem, whatever, and then that happens.
Yeah, and then you combine that with Octane. Good.
Who has a bounce pad, which makes you fly through the air at rapid speed. So you put down the totem, bounce pad, fly in with no HP, crack these people, get rid of all their armor or whatever. Then you come back with half HP, but all your armor, so you just charge back in with this bounce pad before they get a chance to heal. So you're basically getting an extra health bar against all these teams, and it's super oppressive and really
It's
not fun when it happens to you, but it's really fun when you get to do it.
Yeah, and so starting the base, go hard in meta, go hard with what's the strongest, and then from there take a step back. We've only just started doing that for comp. I mostly play Bloodhound, which is a very strong legend, just revealing a bunch of information to the team, which is fantastic. Morgie plays Wraith as well, and then we have our Valks going around, which are just again playing the strong meta champions, playing the strong meta weapons. Right now, it's a lot of bow, R301, Spitfire, uh,
Flatty.
R99, Flatline. Yeah, all of like the weapons that are high DPS,
PK.
consistent. Yeah, and forcing engagements. That's where like there's some variant. PK is or Peacekeeper is very good, but not from my playstyle. Morgie's on the other hand, fantastic for his. Well, my playstyle is if you leave me alone, you're going to get absolutely demolished, and so I run with like the Devotion and the Havoc, which and while Morgan laughs at it, Devotion is one of the highest DPSs in the entire game, and so that's why I do it. Is that if you leave me alone, you're going to die, and I try to position myself to succeed in that and keep that going, trying to be as consistent as I can with a little bit more of an inconsistent gun. And so there's some fun stuff that we try to do. Some things like right now we're sort of just going around in lower ranks as we're getting back
Shooting
to
people.
flat, yeah, and just sort of inting at people, and then we'll have to start playing more and more serious as we go higher and higher. And our third currently is Morgie's cousin, Hayden. And he's a little bit more of a one trick. He's the epitome of just click their head's forehead, right? Like he just aims at their head and hits people, and he just casually gets like top 1%.
Joins games. It just fucking like played Overwatch casually with his girlfriend or whatever and hit fucking GM,
which is the equivalent to Predator in Apex.
Just a god gamer.
And so he's just
picks up snipers in this game, and
yeah, we've been. He picks up a sniper. He likes a sniper. He hits people in the head with a sniper. Creates a ton of space for both of us just to go in. It works very well with Morgie, who just immediately pushes in. I try to keep an off angle, try to support with that little bit more of a range, and then push in. Like Hayden makes space. Morgie goes inting in. I go after him, and then that 1-2-3 punch of being very well spread out.
Hayden creates space. Well. Morgie ints. I actually kill them. It's fine.
It cleans up in the end. I get extra res points because Morgie goes down. It works all in the end. Yeah, pretty much.
I may go down, but I down 2 people with me.
Yeah. And so that's been a lot of the fun of doing it. We both have that competitive background and enjoy the competitive aspects. We like pushing ourselves as much as we can to reach our goals, reach the goal, and then start to refine out. Right now, we're on the reach the goal, thus doing more of the scummy Revenant Octane, really like powerful and anti-fun things. Which, if they're in the game, if they're actively there, you're not abusing it, like exploits, anything like that, then it's there. We'd love to see that change. I think that both of us wouldn't be upset if Revenant Totem, which I think is the core part of it, got reworked.
Yeah.
Is more interactive to play against, we'll say.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But we'll be going for that.
They already nerfed my poor bounce pad.
Oh no. But an extra 30 seconds. You're already past
Not
cooldown.
The fact that I'm not 100% accurate when flying through the air anymore.
Yeah, so they with the balancing to Octane's syringe, the last patch where it takes more health, anybody else can do it more, sort of the give and the take. They increased the cooldown of his bounce pad and also nerfed it because you could keep 100% accuracy on your first bounce, and that was insane. You fly, you Revenant Totem, Octane pad, and while you're flying through the air, you put an entire clip into someone. And by the time you land, you're already reloaded and in a great position because you've taken high ground, stuff like that. You're already getting the drop on them. And so now put a clip into them, and then you go and clip them again, and they're downed, and you're not even downed. And if you are, you go back to the totem, which you can immediately re-engage, and that's why it's so insane. And so that now it's a little bit less insane, although with the bow and 100% accuracy while in the air, that's
The thing is so stupid.
Oh, that's great. Uh, speaking on the bow, coming back to it since we have, what ways would you like to see the bow nerfed? Right, I think that it needs some rebalancing, needs some of its many categories of where it is strong brought down because it is just so oppressive.
So my main thing would be if Respawn could go into like the bow settings and click the delete button. I think that's like the best option they could do for that weapon. I
Get
think
it
that
out
would
of
help
there.
out. I think that would help out a lot for the balance of the bow. But in all seriousness, like, I think it shouldn't shoot as fast as it does. I think it should be louder, and I think the amount of arrows you can carry per stack should be nerfed. And then it might be okay.
Wonder if they put like a whistler on it, right? Because you can have whistle arrows that make little phew. Yeah, so it's like you're shooting fireworks. And
God.
maybe they add a hop up. Maybe they remove the bow can take 2 hop ups. One's the tempo that we talked about earlier. You fire fast, you fire faster, and the other one is scatter shot, which is mediocre at it turns your bow into a shotgun effectively, and it does stuff.
It's pretty bad.
If they removed it and they put an explosive arrow in, say it did
No,
less.
absolutely. Fuck you.
Say it does less initial damage, but then blows up. Or again, like you're doing overall less damage, but it does a little bit of AOE.
Maybe, yeah.
Right, so
God.
all of a sudden you can't sit there and hide in a corner, otherwise you're just gonna get toggled on by a bow and just get AOE'd to death.
Oh my god. Maybe, but Jesus, I can just. Oh god. I'm just imagining the hell that would fucking bring.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun, and it would play to that whistlers a little bit more, which I like. Making it louder, sure. I don't mind the silence of it. It can be a little disorienting. The bow is also still very, very new. Its damage is currently with the second best shield, which is pretty common in the mid game to have. You still get 3 clipped by the bow or 3 shot, and that's if you're just out of position, holding still at any point. That's a free shot, and then you have to get into cover, which is if the person wielding the bow has a good scope or is skilled with the bow. That's another shot, and then it's just one more from another teammate. If you're already lit, lots of things. So reducing its damage,
so it's so fast too.
Yeah, reducing its overall DPS, touching down its. I don't know if you can touch down its fire rate and its DPS. I think if you go down to a 4-5 shot kill on purple red armor, red being the max armor that is most common at endgame, you get 250 total health at that point versus purple armor, which is 200 health.
225.
225. Yeah, sorry, 225 for red, 200 for purple. If with 70 damage a shot, that overkills by 10 on purple, and you have to get your overkills by 40,
something like that.
Something like 30 on red, or 35. And so reducing its damage, so it's a 4-shot, 5-shot kill, and reducing its fire rate can suddenly start to really hit its DPS. Like already reducing its damage reduces its DPS by like 20-some%. And so reducing its fire rate off of that, you have to be really careful with just how hard you're hitting things. I don't like over nerfing. I think that within this next like couple weeks, they should nerf something with it and then see how it feels. And then if they need to re-nerf it, they do it again. Nerf often, nerf light is the general understanding of how to nerf things within games.
But in the same aspect, do you think that the bow should be doing as much damage as the highest damage sniper in the game?
Probably not with how utility based it is. Snipers take you have to unrack effectively you have to unscope and re-rack your shot to go to the next one and then reacquire a target, while bows can just start rapid firing, and especially with the tempo going up. Maybe they keep the tempo. So if you're full tempo, you keep the same fire rate, but you nerf the base fire rate by a lot, and so it really incentivizes tempo.
Yeah, and then another thing on like the sniper side of things too is the snipers, at least at some point, even if you are holding that angle and you shoot all 5 of your shots, at some point you do have to step back and reload your sniper, which should give a team an opportunity to run or whatever. The bow, you never have to actually reload it.
That's
you
true,
just keep shooting your arrows, so it never gives a team a chance to make a break for it to the next set of cover, right? Because a bow can just create constant pressure, right? Like I think that, like I don't, maybe not for the flavor or whatever of it, but giving it like a reload mechanic or whatever, like where you have to like change out quivers or something, could make it a lot more streamlined balance compared to normal snipers, because it'd give a chance to relieve pressure, like where you get a second to breathe.
giving it more downtime, right? Whether I think if they put that in, then they wouldn't do fire rate down because
Mhm.
you'd have to be able to get to that point.
Yeah,
Nerfing
it's
fire
very
rate,
different.
I think that would work. I like nerfing fire rate more. I think it just feels bad to have to reload a bow.
Yeah,
You're,
it's just like comparing it to snipers, right? Like
and
as to why it's so much more powerful.
another thing with the bow and how like impactful it is, and with the arrows specifically, they stack up to like 48 right now in a single stack, which is insane. The amount of arrows that you can carry, like you carry 2 stacks and you're good the entire game. And so nerfing that down drastically, I could see being a really good choice. Nerfing it out to 20, 25 per stack. So you're finding
Mhm.
fewer on initial pickup. Your first fight, you may use all of them. Um, and
And if that
then
person's not carrying a bow, you then have to swap out of your bow, and it changes it a little bit.
right. It makes it so it's very spiky, but you have to be careful with how powerful it is at that point. There are other nerfs that have to come in. Overall, lots of different choices, lots of different things. It'll be interesting to see how and if respawn and when. My thing with nerfs is when it happens. It's been identified that the bow is really strong. When is this going to? When are these changes actually going to take effect? And then what will they be?
Hmm.
And one thing that you can't do with the bow though is you can't do a lot of movement. You're sort of locked in. You can peek around cover and stuff, but you can't do a lot of sliding because you're always ADS unless you're in very close range, and even then you're very slow. And then, but with that and movement, something that we've been focused on a lot in this recent season, and something that for this season we're really trying to put a lot of time and energy into. Also, you're muted.
Improve on.
Yeah, yeah, and so the movement and to give a background on Apex's movement system, to go a little more in depth, Titanfall 2 came out sort of in a wonky spot. There's a lot of upset around Titanfall 2's launch. EA is the person that produces Titanfall 2 with Respawn as the developers. EA effectively forced Titanfall 2 into a in between Call of Duty and Battlefield release date to sort of try to scuff Battlefield's or scuff Titanfall or modern Call of Duty's
Whatever it was.
numbers, and then release their game later to rebuff those and to pull away from them, and then pull onto Battlefield. And so it was really scuffed. There's a lot of resurgence of players for it, especially when they're free weekends and it going to Steam. All of these things that really make it a very solid game. And it does have a lot of support. It has movement and tech, and so sort of like Super Smash Brothers, where you have this tech of different combinations that you can do, different things that are like very technical. Would have thunk. A lot of things that came from Titanfall, which is Apex in the Titanfall universe, and made by the same developers using the same engine, they show up in Apex, and so there's these like weird interactions and things that you wouldn't find on your own, or you would and would really know what you're doing. But with it being such a wide game and having a Titanfall 2 audience, so a lot of people that enjoy Apex for its movement. You have an entire subgroup of players that really play the game for its movement and just enjoy doing that. And this season, we've highlighted and really focused on learning that and adapting that into our playstyles, and especially Morgan's been putting a ton of time in to get everything. He's going to give us an example of a bunch of these movement techs.
I'm still not great at it yet, but
Implementing, like understanding it, is where we're currently at, and then implementing is what
mhm.
is what we're currently working on.
Mhm.
And so to start, we'll rock with B hops if you want to grab some excels.
Sure. So as you can see with this, I'm jumping the whole time that I'm moving, right? And I'm moving my cursor back and forth, whatever. So what I'm doing is I can like create full range of movement while I'm doing things like this. I'm just sliding this whole entire time so I can do weird shit around instead of just full running. And what I'm doing is I'm basically like I'm strafing the whole time I'm doing this, and I'm moving my camera in the direction I'm strafing while I'm jumping, so it keeps my momentum while I'm permanently sliding like this.
Yeah, and so he starts with a slide, and then at the pinnacle, and then jumps, right? And at the pinnacle of that jump, you come back down and you
Yep.
hit it again. And
Yep.
so he's going up and down, and it allows him to maintain a higher base movement speed while doing things. And so you used to be able to heal, which reduced your
And you still
HP by a
can
ton.
on extremely fast legends like Octane.
Yeah. And so if you want to grab some syringes and do this, Octane with the little syringe that you see stabbed into the left side of him, it reduces his HP, so his HP is very low. But with if you wanted to just do a normal syringe right fast without be hopping.
Sure.
So right now you see how slow and sluggish he's going, versus if you throw in a syringe and start b hopping. And so it's a marked improvement. And Octane is a very niche case of being able to utilize this still. Most legends just get a minor increase. It's not super worth it, but it's a good technique to have. It does keep a higher base movement speed. There's some like Maury's talking about, benefit of maneuverability while you are b hopping.
And as you can see there, how different my aim is. I'm very flicky, and I always reset back to right here, and I flick to my target.
Yeah, and it's a little hard to see exactly what's going on versus if you pick up an R3 and then try to do my aim style, just like strafe left and right.
Yeah, I'll grab that in a second.
And you can even do it with the Peacekeeper.
I'm showcasing like the cover thing that I do as well.
Yeah, so this is the benefit of Morgie's playstyle. It's where you don't give your opponent a lot of time to do any reaction. And you don't have to do it with the R3. You can just center up with the Peacekeeper on a mob.
Oh, too late. Instead of just going like.
Yeah, and so it allows you to move left and right a ton, and
like whenever I'm fighting like this, I'm like.
Yeah, and you can see immediately the difference in shots landed.
But it's even just like controlling recoil, even with my style, is very important, right? Like I can look at this guy at a decent distance and I can hit like all headshots like every time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like hitting like this target up here is like excruciatingly hard to master. I'm not great at it, but I can do it. Like I can hit a couple shots on there consistently. It's very difficult to laser that target compared to just like something like this where I can control the recoil, hit it every time.
Yeah. When you were b-hopping, you talked about strafing, and so another movement tech is tap strafing.
Oh, you're gonna do tap strafing for air strafing?
Yeah. So this is tap strafing on the ground.
Okay. So what I'm doing here,
and show what it looks like to do no tap strafing first. Sort of explain what you're gonna do,
if
and then what tap strafing
basically
does.
what I'm gonna do is, let's say I want to run around through this past this corner, right? If I just ran and I was just running and I just jump and I don't tap strafe or whatever, see how slowly I turn? Like I try and slide and I jump, I'm trying to get around the corner. It's really awkward. But if I do something called tap strafing where I'm using my movement key and I'm completely shifting my momentum with it, I can do something like this, where I slide jump and I'm instantly around this corner.
And so as you take the corners really fast.
And I'm basically flicking my momentum around these corners and just completely changing it with what's called the tap strafe. Or like a really good example is off of this. So normally if I throw my bounce pad and I go forward and I double jump, I go forward and I can like air strafe and do some stuff like that.
Yeah, and so
tap strafing. So I'm showcase tap strafing with this. If I tap strafe with this, instead of just having to air strafe off it or whatever, I can slide and I fucked it up there, but I can completely shift my momentum before I hit the apex. I can go like I'm not great at on the bounce pad, but I can completely shift my momentum when I do it right.
Yeah, so he's taking his momentum
like
and
that. I completely turn around backwards and
turning it on a dime as opposed to the usual having to do it slowly. And exactly what happened there, where he just gets locked up and becomes a sitting duck effectively. You're able to keep full momentum while maneuvering very aggressively. And when you jumped off the bounce pad, you were talking about hitting you're doing air strafing. And so same sort of idea of avoiding or being able to use movement to your advantage and not have as much downtime or anything like that. So what is air strafing about?
So normally I'm flying through the air in here, right? And if I'm holding W and trying to go to the right or whatever, see how I'm moving not to my right at all? Like even if I'm holding right and holding W, I'm doing nothing. The thing is, if you let go of W or whatever, it allows you to not be putting your momentum into a forward areas like that. It allows you to move your momentum into the side like this. So I can let go of W and completely shift to the side like that. I actually double jump, so but yeah, I see how I'm completely going right now, and I completely 180.
Yeah, total 180, and doing that in the air, like if you're shooting at someone and someone's moving at a predictable rate of movement in one direction
So I can do some.
versus multiple directions. Yeah, so it's moving back and forth. If you just need to go in a straight line, if your goal is to get from point A to point B, you just wiggle back and forth. If you just don't want to get hit, and you can wrap around something, wrap around a building, wrap around uh, some terrain, then it works very well. Keeping on this idea of using movement to your advantage and a little bit more of a sure, let's go with that. Let's go with
Zipline bouncing.
zipline bouncing.
So this isn't. It used to be much more effective in previous seasons when you didn't have a cap on how many times you could hit this. But whenever you're going up like vertical zip lines and stuff like this, you can do it 3 times. You can bounce back and forth to create yourself like very hard movement to hit, right? I can just go back and forth like this. It's very hard to hit. So like on a short zip line, if I just need to go up whatever, instead of just going up like a sitting duck, I can go like that. Make myself really hard to hit instead of going like this.
Yeah, so going up zip lines, right, on long zip lines like this or short ones, you're moving at a consistent rate, like we talked about, and relatively staying still. You saw more you slant or move left and right a ton with his mouse or swipe it, and that moves your position on the zip line, but still pretty easy to hit. Versus the bouncing and that, well, you don't get as high as fast, although there is a vertical zip line bounce as well.
Like this.
Yeah, so you,
Maybe there's something comes as well, then
you're locked in. But you can bounce up and down, and it just creates more stability for and consistency for traversing versus on these consistent parts of Apex. There's lots of parts that are inconsistent. Crouch spamming, 80-80 strafing, all like going over a zip line, not going over zip line. Zipline bouncing, all is very inconsistent, and that makes it more difficult to hit. Going over a zipline, just holding still while shooting, going over a bounce pad, you will eventually find players that are so acclimated to shooting at that pace that they know exactly how far to pre-aim. They can just hit consistent headshots on you, and you will have a bad day. You will get down and immediately destroyed. Versus applying these techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And with avoiding, if we want to go into monkey strafing next, you want to sort of explain how that is. And this is more combat focus oriented. I think that is where it's most applicable.
Now we're getting stuff that's a lot harder to do. Stuff that like I'm still not great at all this movement stuff yet. Like I'd say my movement is above average now and stuff like that. Well, I think it's my movement's probably good compared to most players. I can do stuff that a lot of players can't. But this is like a really more technical technique where I have to change my momentum key up on my mouse wheel. So I can do things like completely changing the way I'm sliding, right? So if I am running, I'm gonna go up here and do monkey strafing. It's easier. But for example, if I go up here or whatever, and I'm running in a straight line, and I do a slide jump, I can make it where I completely shift to the side and I slide to the right instead of going. So I can like slide jump this way, and I'm sliding backwards to my right like this.
You want to do a base slide jump just to sort of show what it looks like?
Sure. So if I just run and I just slide jump.
One direction, again, very consistent movement. You're running at someone and trying to do that, then you're going to get absolutely domed.
And if I don't do the technique, I still slide forward.
Right, you don't move at all.
Even if I look that way, like, or if I do exactly what I'm doing, right, I still keep going the same direction. But if I do this technique for monkey strafing, which is just like a simple air strafe, right, I'm completely shifting my momentum, and I can like stop myself on a dime, do like complete 180s like that, go to the side or whatever, do really weird things where it just looks wonky with my movement. Like I can run and slide jump off this edge and completely come back to it like this.
Yeah, so if you have someone running at you and then all of a sudden they do a 180 or they do just a 90 return to their right and are in full fire mode at that point, it's so much more instant to
shoot them back.
Yeah.
Right, let's say I have to like reload or whatever, and I have my gun out, I can and shift back on them, right? Like I'm reloading my gun right now. I stim. I need to reload, right? I go. I jump back, and I'm instantly back in the fight, and I just completely fuck their movement or whatever.
Yeah, so they think you're jumping off the side, trying to get cover, something like that, and then all of a sudden you're back
So
in.
they may see you start to jump. They take out their weapon because they're trying to get to you faster, and then you shift back on them and just start fucking them up.
And all of these techs, like we talked about, this is something we're implementing this season mostly. I think exclusively. We have base understandings of what these looks like, wall B hops and tap strafing and
Yeah.
what sort of roughly what they do, but we're really trying to amp it up and focus on these particularly. Morgie's been doing drills on them pretty much every day, and just to get them really down. Another drill that you've been doing pretty consistently, and some of the tech around it, is wall bouncing.
Yeah. So I'll show like a base of what that is over here. So just like a base of what a wall bounce is I'm running at this wall, I slide, it's less consistent, but I slide jump, and right as I hit the wall, I let go of all inputs of my keyboard, and I just jump as soon as I hit the wall, and it makes me jump backwards on it like that.
Yeah, and so the idea of if you see someone running at a wall and all of a sudden he does this very fast momentum change on the wall and then a completely different direction, then that throws you off. And
Mm-hmm.
instead
And
of like seeing someone jump out a wall and try to climb up it really slowly,
yeah, it's like wall bouncing on its own isn't necessarily a great technique to use, whatever, but like combining with other things like air strafing or tap strafing, so I can do something like this. I fucked it up. But I run at it and I wall bounce and I completely change my momentum. Instead of taking a slow climb up this wall like that, I wall bounced off the wall and I tap strafed off into the wall, and I pushed my momentum over it so I would fly over and not have to like use this shit climb animation. I'm just right on top of the wall,
yeah.
which
Or
is extremely like potent in fights when I need to get over a wall. Or whatever. Obviously, this one's taller, so I'm not actually getting over it. But
or do the shorter one.
I can. I'm just kind of messing around with it. Let me stim back up. So I can do things like I'm fucking it up. I'm not 100% consistent with it yet.
Which is why we're still drilling it and still trying to implement it. There you
I'm
go.
already
And
over the wall like that.
he's over. When you do get caught trying to climb over something, though, you have the like ghetto super gliding, which if you just want to climb over something normally, and then sort of see how that goes, climb up, you bolt over, and you just run over. Comparatively to right there, you see there's an immediate lift on Morgie, and he jumps directly, like you're hitting a jump button right at the pinnacle of the climb, and it just juts you off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can immediately crouch and then slide off something, which also gives you movement speed boost. All that, and then the reason we call it a ghetto super glide is that there's a technique called a super glide, which is a frame perfect. You're hitting your jump button and then your crouch button at the same time, and it's the jump but on steroids. It does it like 100% increased movement,
Yeah,
and
I'm
so
like
you're
the
yeah,
things I'm messing around with like right now are like air strafing wall, like 180 wall bouncing, where I'm doing it and I'm tap strafing onto this wall or whatever to create extreme forward momentum, where I'm like moving in like a super unpredictable way, and I'm bouncing around and like to make shots a lot harder to hit on people. I'm not necessarily going further or necessarily faster, but it's just harder to hit. But I can do weird things like that or whatever too. Where I tap strafed around the thing and I missed the wall bounce, but I still tap strafed around a corner like that and can really like that is one of the things I've been working on
and
a
that
lot. Is I flew from right here with a single jump to right here.
yeah, and that increases movement speed, increases efficiency of avoiding people. You can use it to get away. You can use it to engage. It's pretty grand.
It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Like once you're fucking doing consistent things like this, I'm bouncing around corners, completely changing my momentum. It's fun to practice, and like you can see it if you watch the other podcasts or whatever. You see my arms moving or whatever constantly. It's because I'm in this training range, just drilling my aim, drilling my movement, doing shit like this, fucking looking like a weirdo.
But he's getting better and he's proven, and it shows the dedication to wanting to achieve uh, the goals that we have set in place. We're gonna stop sharing the screen and we'll start to.
Yeah, start wrapping it up.
There we go. And so this is what we've mostly focused on when just grinding. It's what we're doing, what our current goals are set for, what we're feeling like we want to accomplish and achieve, and so we're setting out to do it. And this is the goals or the steps that we've been taking to reach that. Staying to the meta, learning new strategies, and implementing all of that and overall time spent.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to like see the progress and move
Yeah,
like
move
just
forward
move
and
forward through the game and see like my progress of how I've improved as a player. Like I've gotten to where whenever I'm on my game or whatever, I consistently one clip players and like sit consistently open up fights and stuff like that compared to before I wasn't doing that right and just improving as a player.
yeah. Before, if you did that, you would feel great about that one stance, but then that happened like once or twice a game. Now it's every single fight that we take, and we can take more fights because of that, and
And
do
now
so
it's
much
like,
engagement.
one clip this idiot.